Recently, the Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramana, gave a statement in which he said that the concept of investigative journalism is disappearing from India. Now, uh, my first reaction to this statement was that it is kind of a duality, an ambivalent statement, because India still has draconian laws such as sedition, defamation. But I'll come to that later in this video. Right now I find this a good opportunity to talk about the concept of investigative journalism, how powerful this form of journalism is, and why it is disappearing from India, if at all it is. uh, India, the mainstream media of India has been very readily been recognized or synonymized with the pathetic and very loud, very annoying TV debates. But the TV debates are not the only form of journalism that exists. There is a form of journalism which has nothing to do with speaking and everything to do with writing and research, which is the investigative form of journalism, and this is what we'll be talking about today. My name is Ishan Fosdar, and you are watching The Upfront. There is a movie called The Spotlight. It is a very famous movie, and it narrates the incident of how a group of journalists investigate the cases of child molestation by fathers and priests of a church, and how they successfully articulate and corroborate information to give it to provide it in a case in the court. Now, this movie is based on a very real incident. This happened actually in the real life, and the movie won an Oscar, and it is one of the best representations of the power of investigative journalism and the significance of this form of media. In essence, investigative journalism is a form of journalism that requires rigorous research, rigorous writing on either social issues or cases which have been long pending in court, or other controversial scams and cases. This form of journalism requires very rigorous research and writing, and therefore it can take very long time. It can go from a month to a decade, and it can produce results from a 3000 word article to even a book. Such is the length and breadth of investigative journalism. Investigative journalists do not concern themselves with breaking news. They do not break any new news. They corroborate the information that is already in public domain, and investigative journalists are also not concerned with the race of getting to the news first. That rat race of breaking the news first, which is very evident in the mainstream media, is not present in investigative journalism, this form of journalism. Many of the scams which we know about today are a result of investigative journalistic projects. The infamous Watergate scandal, the Panama Papers, and every other scam that you can think of were a result of very long, very hard research, and we came to know about these scams because a few journalists decided to take the back seat, not come in the limelight, to do very rigorous research and to corroborate very legitimate yet mundane information. That is how we know about these scams. Uh, in today's era, we have different forms of investigative journalism. One form which has been very famous and very controversial is the sting journalism, sting operations. So in 2005, this news magazine called Tahelka carried a sting operation in which they tried to bribe very high military officials using prostitutes and money, in making military deals. Most of these attempts were successful, and Tahelka recorded all of these conversations and then made up CDs and released them in public domain. This was called Operation West End, and it shook the entire national and political spectrum of the country, hence giving rise to a new form of investigative journalism called sting journalism, sting operations. Sting operations have been very famous. We have seen many sting operations as well. The most recent and famous one being the one done after the JNU attack with ABVP members. Now, things are very famous and very effective also, but they are very controversial because they raise the ethical issues of confidentiality and autonomy. There is a branch of media called media ethics, and these the sting operation do not consider privacy or confidentiality as ethical principles, and therefore it is very controversial, one would say. The main argument is that two wrongs cannot make a right, and you can yourself analyze how much you conform to that statement. Investigative journalism, on the other hand, does not raise any such issues of privacy or confidentiality because they do not break any new information. Investigative journalists analyze the information that is already there in public domain, but this information is very mundane and very complicated. So the most difficult and the important part is analysis and time management. The most recent case of investigative journalistic report was the Pegasus scandal, the Pegasus Gate, as I would call it, which recently came out. There are several reports which show that the trend and the concept of and the practice of investigative journalism has been on the low, has been diminishing, and there are many reasons for the same. The first reason may be the labor and the time which is required, which is demanded by investigative journalism. Investigative investigation is a very tedious and very time driven and labor driven process. uh, uh, Investigative journalism, journalists have to go through lakhs and lakhs of pages of information and make sense of every one of them. We do not we forget half of the things we have read in a book by the time we finish that book, but these journalists have to go through similar and thousands of such pages and keep track of each one of them till the very end. This is one reason the effort demanded by investigative journalism also then demands money. Investigative journalism demands a lot of money because obviously you have to pay the journalist for doing the work, and this is one reason why journalism may be on the decline. The other reason is also the generation which we are living in. We are living in the 10-second short generation, which and we expect to learn everything from a 3-minute read. In such a generation, a 3000 word article or an entire book may not find market. And furthermore, investigative journalism takes a long time, and it may happen that by the time the story comes out, the people are not interested in it, so it just goes to trash. However, the most intriguing and the most disturbing thing about CJI Ramana's statement, I feel, is the presence of draconian laws in India. Although our Chief Justice says that we should do something about protecting investigative journalists, we still have laws such as sedition in the country, and the Supreme Court has time and again upheld the law. Although it has narrowed down the interpretation of sedition, there are ample numbers to show that sedition is being used rampantly. We made an entire video explaining the implications, the history, and the historical significance of the sedition law. Furthermore, we also have laws such as criminal defamation, and criminal defamation has been upheld by the Supreme Court time and again. This is a law which severely restricts the freedom of speech and expression in a very dangerous way, in a very reputed concept of in a very disputed and vague concept of reputation harm. So this is there, and this is still protected. This is still legal in India. I can talk about many such laws, many more laws such as UAPA, PSA, contempt of court, criminal contempt. But the bottom line is that even though CJI Ramana may seem to favor investigative journalism, the legal system, the apex court, does not seem to back his favoring. Yes, it is very true that recently the Supreme Court has given special protection to journalists in sedition cases, but a lot more needs to be done if we at all want to protect the rare breed of investigative journalists. If you like this video, do press the like button, do subscribe to our YouTube channel, and press the bell icon so that you receive regular updates on whenever we make a new video, we release a new video. See you in another video. Thank you so much.